Hello, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be here today with Ajax Jackson. She's the owner of, what's the name of your studio exactly?
Magnolia Yoga Studio.
I love it. In the French Quarter of New Orleans. We're going to jump right in because we only have a few minutes here. But I know that you are a huge fan of the book Autobiography of a Yogi that perhaps many of the listeners are aware of. Can you briefly tell the listeners about how that book was on your dad's bookshelf as a kid and what it led to?
Yeah, so my parents were avid readers. They had books of many subjects, and I was always a curious kid looking through all their books. And I read all their books, but there was one book that for some reason I just did not feel ready to open. I would just stare at it year after year after year, front cover, back cover. And it was the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And I then saw that book being sold in my yoga teacher training, decades later. Of course, I bought it. And of course, it just changed my life in many ways. This fascinating man and book and life, and all his mentors were really powerful. And then decades after that, I found myself retracing some of his stories, real life
You
stories.
you 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 actually went to his childhood home where
Yeah,
he grew up and where he would meditate, where it's talked about in the book. Is that
yeah,
correct? Yeah.
that's correct. That's correct. I was there for teacher training. One of the teachers knew Calcutta very well, knows Calcutta very well, and took us to some really special, remarkable places. And not to mention, I was amongst his family. I was amongst people that, that are part of his family.
Yeah. So those that don't know, Paramahansa Yogananda was born Mukunda Ghosh, and he had a brother named Vishnu Ghosh. And Vishnu Ghosh started the Ghosh College um, of India, and that's where you did some more
That's where
yoga
it was.
training right there, and
That's where it
actually
was.
from Yogananda's great niece, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And during that time, Michael, is when the negotiations for my yoga studio were still kind of on the table. And because it had been such a huge dream for so long, there was a small part of me that just wasn't sure if it was going to happen. And I remember feeling like, I think these are all signs that I'm getting permission from this, legendary family to do this in New Orleans. And I remember one day walking down the streets of Calcutta, seeing a neon sign that said Magnolia. And I took that as my good omen that, yeah, this is gonna happen.
Cool. Now, one of the things I know you like to talk a lot about too is really uh, transforming yourself with you're transforming your DNA through yoga. And, maybe in 30 seconds or so, can you give the listeners an idea of that and what happened in your family that caused you to go down that road?
Yeah, so I'm Black and Latina, that's how I identify. And on both sides of my family, there's diabetes. I learned early on in my yoga practice that you can prevent the onset of a lot of chronic diseases. And so it's been a goal that I have met thus far, to prevent diabetes in my life. And the way that that is happening, well, there's a lot of ways that's happening, but one of the ways that you transform on a cellular level with yoga is through the deep breathing that we do, is through the detoxing that you do, is through getting rid of the stress in the body. That alone boosts the body's immune system and really gets the body revving up in all good ways. And therefore, it slows down the aging process because it needs less. You're giving back to it. You're restoring the body with yoga and meditation. And that helps the body live longer.
Yeah, wonderful. In just a few seconds, literally a few seconds, tell the listeners something about yourself that nobody else knows.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I know I'm throwing you off. You only got 10 seconds.
Well, I guess one of the things I've always wanted to do is to discover new waterfalls in the world.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So to all the listeners and everybody hearing this today, I invite you to go to innerpoint.com and become a member and listen to Ajax's full discussion on transformation through yoga and transforming your DNA, because it's really super powerful. So thank you again, Ajax, and looking forward to talking to you again soon. I told you before, it's just a delight to have a conversation with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Same.